It is 9:34 here this morning in hour number 1 on Sound Off with myself, Greg Pregent, and Kyle Jarvis on AM 1290 and FM 107.5 and Wkbk Radio.com. Thanks for joining us here this morning. This program brought to you by Elm City Bagels and Deli with bagel soups and salads on West Street in Keene. Thanks so much for joining us, and you can always call us with your comments and questions at 357-1290 or email the show at gpregent at wkbkradio.com, and also, too, you can follow along our conversation on Facebook here this morning. Coming up a little later on, Molly Kelly's New Hampshire State Senator will be joining us from 10 to 11, and Eric Weisenberger, the Director of Development at the Colonial Theater, will be joining us in the 11 o'clock hour. But right now, we want to welcome into the studio Sean Graves. He is the coach of the Keene High School bass fishing team, and also Kevin Mcneil from Mcneil Radio Group and Wink Country Afternoon Guy is joining us too this morning. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's talk fish.
Let's talk fish. All right, yeah. And, you know, I think I was one of these people, you know, when Kevin and I were talking about fishing, and he happened to mention that there was a Keene High School bass fishing team, and I had one of those, like, what kind of things. And so maybe you can just quickly explain, how long has there been a team, and how did it get started?
That's a pretty common reaction to having bass fishing in the state of New Hampshire. The Keene High School bass fishing team started, I guess the roots of it started probably about 8 or 9 years ago with the Wildlife Conservation Club, also known as the Fishing Club. And we had a bunch of kids who came and wanted to form a club to try to go fishing. And so we started with that, and eventually the state of New Hampshire was looking into certifying bass fishing as a varsity sport. And when they did that, we joined the group.
Great. Now, how many bass fishing teams are there in the state of New Hampshire through the high school?
There are 41 schools that participate in the NHIA bass fishing.
Really?
Yeah, it was the single largest NHIA first-year sport in history of the NHIA.
Wow. So realistically, there's more bass fishing teams in high school level than there is like ski teams.
I don't know the number of ski teams out there, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, certainly. Now, you know, of course, the interesting thing with fishing is I guess you look, you know, most young kids, obviously, you know, they don't have boats. You know, they have to do just shore fishing. And so this is a great way for a lot of kids who maybe never had the opportunity to fish in a bass boat, get a chance to fish in a bass boat.
Yeah, that's true. And usually the first time they get in the bass boat and the big motor lights up and you get the whole shot and they're flying across the lake,
yeah,
you see a pretty big smile on their face.
It's a rush.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a rush.
Now, Kevin, now one of the reasons we have you in here, you volunteered and helped out Sean, and you just a couple weeks ago brought some kids down to Spofford Lake a little bit, right?
Yeah, Sean had a rock bass tournament on Spofford a couple of weeks ago, and he was looking for people to help him out with the tournament, to take a couple kids on the boats, and I worked it out where I met him down on the ramp at 6:30 in the morning, and I put a couple of Keene High seniors on my boat, and it was a wonderful experience for 5 hours talking with these kids, and I really enjoy sharing my knowledge, what knowledge I have about bass fishing and fishing in general with these kids, because they are the future of the sport.
Yeah, because obviously, how long you've been fishing most of your life, right?
Yeah, pretty much since I was 7 years old. My dad took me, so I've been fishing for a long time. My kids,
so at least 20 years, right?
Yeah, well, probably. Oh, you're too kind, Greg.
Thank you.
You're too kind.
Now, how many kids are on the team, the Keene High School team?
I think last year we had 27 total.
And this is co-ed, I assume.
Yeah, it is co-ed, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, you know, the fish don't care if you're male or female.
Sure, right.
That's one of the, back to people helping out, that's one of the great things about the fishing community, is that they're very willing to help share their knowledge and to share their time. All of the boat captains that take out all the high school kids are all volunteer. So it's a pretty big time commitment to, you know, for like the state tournament we have to drive to Winnipesaukee, and it's an all-day event. So I mean, that's really a full day out of their time, and we couldn't do that without the volunteer help that we have in the state.
Sure. So maybe you can kind of quickly, you know, how does it work with the high schools? I mean, how does the you know, the contest, or, you know, the event, or whatever you want to call it, you know, how does Keene have a bass off with, let's say, Manchester or something like that? How does that work?
Well, we really haven't had a one-on-one school fishing tournaments yet. I think that's something that we'll have to look towards the future. Again, because it's tough to coordinate the volunteers.
Yeah.
But right now, At the state level, all the schools come to Winnipesaukee, and they're allowed one team per school, up to 4 anglers, and only 2 anglers can fish at a time. And then the top third, I believe it was, from that tournament, then qualify for the state tournament.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not a traditional kind of high school format where you have, Keene against Manchester. It's